Have you ever wondered how technology can streamline healthcare operations, making hospitals more efficient and ultimately improve patient care? Well, today I want to venture into the world of AI and lean principles in healthcare with the founder and CEO of a company called LeanTaaS. His name is Mohan, and today he's going to be sharing his journey from creating the lean service operations practice, talk about his time at McKinsey and Company, to revolutionising healthcare operations with LeanTaaS, and also provide a fascinating insight into the marriage of technology and healthcare. And I also want to learn more about how LeanTaaS is standing at the forefront of this integration, offering AI-powered and SaaS-based solutions that significantly can enhance capacity management, staffing, and patient flow across numerous health systems. I will also, of course, delve into Mohan's story and the innovative solutions that LeanTaaS provides. But before we get today's guest on, it's time for a quick shout out to the sponsors of Tech Talks Daily. And in today's digital age where data breaches are all too common, securing sensitive information has never been more critical, right? Well, enter Kiteworks, a pinnacle of managed file transfer security, or MFT security. So with its FedRAMP moderate authorization, a prestigious certification that they've held since 2017 by the Department of Defense, Kiteworks stand as a bastion of security in a sea of uncertainty. So step into the future of secure file transfer with Kiteworks by visiting kiteworks.com today to see why it's hailed as the most secure MFT on the market. So once again, kiteworks.com. And now let's get today's guest on. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the US, where we're going to explore the impact of AI in healthcare operations, the challenges overcome, and the future of efficient care delivery. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Hi, Neil. It's great to be here. Mohan Giridharadas. I'm the founder and CEO of LeanTaaS. LeanTaaS is a predictive and prescriptive analytics company. We use crazy math, data science, AI, and machine learning to unlock capacity in the most important assets in a health system: operating rooms, inpatient beds, infusion chairs, etc. Prior to starting LeanTaaS, I spent 18 years at McKinsey, and I ran McKinsey's lean manufacturing and lean service operations practices, both in the US and in the Asia-Pacific region. And the whole vision around LeanTaaS was lean transformation as a service. Imagine delivering operational excellence, but rather than using Excel-level math and consultants on the ground, using sophisticated AI and ML and a software as a service platform to deliver it. And so that's how LeanTaaS was born.
It's an incredible story, and there's so much to unpack there. And as you said, LeanTaaS has been at the forefront of transforming healthcare operations through AI and lean principles for a long time now. But I also like to dig a little bit deeper on the origin story and the story of my guest there and the journey that put them on this path. So you mentioned there about McKinsey and your former life. So can you share any insights on maybe a pivotal moment or challenge that just sparked the inception of LeanTaaS, and how your journey at McKinsey maybe influenced your approach to solving some of those inefficiencies in healthcare? I suppose what I'm trying to say is there's got to be a story there, right?
There is. There's many stories. So I got to work in the most sophisticated service industries driving lean transformation during my McKinsey days. So for instance, I spent 5 years inside Delta Airlines, doing everything from engine maintenance to procurement, to fuel, to route planning, to yield management, etc. So worked on a bunch of things. Worked with UPS, wore the brown uniform, rode the truck, saw how they run their sorting hubs in the middle of the night. So these are very sophisticated, asset-intensive service businesses. And there's a lot to unpack there. So let me take a crack at it. In a manufacturing business, you can hide operational inefficiencies. So for instance, if I'm making widgets and running a manufacturing plant out somewhere, far away, and you place an order for 1,000 parts, I could be running the worst production environment in the world, but I can meet my shipment by just pulling 1,000 pieces from inventory and shipping it to you. So you don't know that I'm running a bad manufacturing plant because every time you place an order, you get your shipment. In a service business, you cannot do that because there's nothing to inventory. Are you going to inventory the doctor or the patient? Which one's going to go in the freezer? Neither can. So in a service business, you cannot hide inefficiency as easily as you could in a manufacturing business or in a supply chain business. And so this was the aha for me on saying there is a way to think about it. And so I stepped back and said, what were the problems in delivering a consulting service to do lean transformations? And it boiled down to two. They invariably use Excel level math. Excel math is middle school math. If you use middle school math, you'll get middle school answers. And operational problems are very sophisticated. They're non-linear, they're hard to predict, things like that. And the second was the reliance on consultants, whether they are in-house or outside, actually ends up, backtracking on everything you did. So for instance, consultants don't have a day job, they have a project job. And so during the project, they work around the clock on Gantt charts and lists and analytics and to-dos and follow-ups and syndication, etc. At some point, they go away. The internal project team rolls away or the external team goes away. And the senior management team doesn't have the time or the bandwidth to do all of that. And so the vision around LeanTaaS was, imagine if we could deliver a lean transformation, replace Excel math with sophisticated math, and replace the wise advice of a consultant with a recommendation engine. If Amazon can whisper the right product for you to buy and Netflix can tell you the right movie to see, why can't we offer up the right advice to the front line? And so that was the vision of LeanTaaS. I was so confident I walked away from a senior partner job at McKinsey to go start it. Went up and down Sandhill, met with 20 venture capitalists. None of them would fund it because they just didn't fund it. They all took a first meeting. They said it was great. They wouldn't fund it. I was so convinced, I said, fine, I'll fund it myself. And so I set aside a little bit of money and funded the first 6 months on my own. But I called them back and said, you guys, why didn't you fund it? And they said, well, we think you'll end up building a tech-enabled consulting business. And that's not fundable. We don't think you'll build a product business. I said, fine. But anyway, I'd gotten started. I then got friends and family to invest. I got 23 friends to put in anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. So it raised about $1.5 million. They're all very happy, by the way, because on the last funding round, they all got to exit and between 25 and 40 times their money back. So I've got a lot of very good friends who are very pleased with their seed investment. And then we launched. And interestingly, Neil, our initial launch was not in any one industry. We were in 10 different industries applying this concept. So Google was a client, Flextronics was a client, Clorox was a client, Home Depot was a client. Across the board, what we built in a common way was absorb a large chunk of data, do intelligent operational algorithms on it, and deliver the solution through a web-based app, and make the code increasingly common across these use cases. So we had 90% code-based commonality across wildly diverse problem sets. So that was the origin story.
Wow, what an incredible story. And I love how you got your friends and family involved. Well, although it must have felt like a risky move at the time. If it went the other way, then you could have lost all your friends and family. But everyone is so happy now with that 10, 20 time exit fee, of course.
It's funny. I did think about that a lot. And a funny story on as a side note, I once had a friend who was running an investment boutique kind of a thing. And one of his funds went belly up. And so a lot of people lost money. Yeah. And he would always cringe when people saw him out at a restaurant or something because he knew he'd lost people's money. And yet he's out, eating at a restaurant, living his life, basically.
Yeah.
So when I got my friends and family to put money, I wanted that to never happen. So I laid down 2 ground rules. I didn't have a business plan when they were putting in their money. So the 2 ground rules I said were, I'll do this full time for at least 3 years. So I don't take your money and then say, oops, I've got a job somewhere and I'm gone. And 2, until we have revenue, I won't take a salary because I didn't want people to say I've taken their money and I'm out eating at a restaurant with their money. So because I'm not taking a salary until we have revenues, which means if I'm eating out, I'm eating on my own savings. So no one give me any grief for that. And with those two ground rules, we raised 1.35 million in 2 weeks.
Amazing.
So that worked out pretty well.
And fast forward to 2024, and LeanTaaS has been recognized for its excellence in capacity optimization management. And I've got to ask, everyone's going crazy about AI at the moment, but how do you see AI further evolving to address some of the complex challenges in healthcare specifically as well? What are the next frontiers in AI that you believe could significantly enhance patient care and operational efficiency? Because we hear about the hype, but it's solving real world problems. That's the exciting stuff, right?
It is. So in our world, we clearly distinguish between clinical AI and operational AI, right? So clinical AI is where you're using AI to make clinical judgments. It can be as common as we see reading a radiology scan and identifying patterns, or analyzing blood work, or, doing those sorts of things. But it could be all the way to diagnoses and, recommended treatment paths and so on. That's what we don't do. So I want to be very clear. We don't do clinical AI, because if you go down the clinical AI path, you'd better have a team of trained clinicians who can, work through this, right?
Yeah.
We focus on operational AI, which means make better operational decisions. And that we feel is probably closer in than true clinical AI. So true clinical AI is a bit further out in our mind, right? On operational AI, even then you have to be very, very careful, because you can't afford to get anything wrong, right? The very nature of AI is learn from mistakes. Well, nobody wants to be the mistake, right? So I'm acutely conscious in a self-driving car that I don't want to be the mistake that the algorithm learns from, because I'll be wrapped around the tree while the algorithm got better for the next guy. So I'll be very conscious about being thoughtful about how we use AI. So in our mind, we have lots of analytics. We have lots of recommendation engines of where to put a patient, which surgery block to take away from which surgeon, which other surgeon should you offer it to, etc. So we think of our AI in sort of three modes. One is the lean forward mode, where someone's got an idea and says, hey, tell me about which surgeon could afford to give up time tomorrow or on Wednesdays, right? That's a lean forward. You've got a specific question. You just don't know how to dig through all the various EHR records or all the various analytic dashboards to assemble an intelligent point of view. But you're leaning forward because you have a very specific question that you want the AI to answer for you. So that's kind of one mode. The other mode is lean back. I don't know what I don't know. Tell me a problem I should know about. For instance, next Wednesday between 12 and 3, Unit 3 is going to be understaffed by 3 nurses. You didn't know that. I'm telling you that now. So you can get up and do something about it, right? So that's the lean back. Think of that as the equivalent of you go to bed at night, your alarm system will tell you if somebody popped a window or broke open a door, right? But you go to sleep saying, I'm not going to wake up every 5 minutes and check all my doors and windows. At some point, if something pops, I'll know about it. But you've got the security of leaning back and saying, yeah, I'll get to it when someone tells me what to do. So that's the second mode. AI can be very helpful. It's continuously scanning the surface of what needs to be addressed and bringing to you what is interesting to you, relevant to your role, relevant to what you've indicated interest in. And the third mode is kind of in the moment problem solving. Something's gone wrong. What should I do? Right? What's the next best answer? So I'm facing a traffic jam. What's the new route I should take? We are used to Waze telling us that. We're used to Google Maps telling us that. We suddenly hit a wall of traffic on the freeway. We don't know where we are. But the nav system, without batting an eyelid, tells you, get off here, do this, do that, and you're back on track. So just like we can accept problem solving from an inanimate object in the car, we can accept problem solving for a real live healthcare operational issue. So that's kind of how we think about the modes in which AI can work.
Love that. And before you came on the podcast today, I was doing a little research on you guys, and I was reading about your recent launch of the perioperative transformation as a service, which also seems to mark a significant milestone in guaranteeing hospital revenue and profitability, solving real problems again for the healthcare industry. So can you tell me a bit more about what makes this service a little bit different, maybe stand out in the market, and what are some of the key factors that ensure its success and reliability for hospitals? Because they're on very tight ships there, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. Transformation as a service has always been in our DNA, right? We named the company LeanTaaS for Lean Transformation as a Service. We were always delivering it quietly, but we just stepped up how we are actually talking about it. Because here's the reality. If you throw software over the wall at someone, the chances are that they won't get the full value out of it, right? I mean, we all use 5% of Microsoft Word and probably 10% of PowerPoint. I mean, there's a whole bunch of capabilities you never use. And so that's the reality. You cannot just throw software over the wall.
Yeah.
You have to put into it the change management so that people start to use it well. People start to see the benefit of what they're doing. So with every one of our deployments, we dedicate a team to each customer and say, this is your team. This is your go-forward team. And they will be there side by side with you at governance meetings, at allocations, at whenever you've got decisions to make, you can lean on this team. We don't charge separately for it. It's an all-you-can-eat salad bar. Our service is built into ensuring you get success out of it. And so early on, we said, this is new and different for health systems. We need to make it easy for them. So we guaranteed it. From the very inception, we guaranteed our products, where we said, for 6 months after you sign up, if you don't feel you're getting the value, just tell us. We'll go away and we'll refund every nickel you paid us. And after that, we don't confuse customers with hostages. So you're not locked into a 3-year contract with no exit ramp. You can opt out whenever you want. Okay? And so that's kind of how we set it up. In the beginning, it was helpful for us. We didn't have that many customers. It was a useful kind of show of support and a show of confidence. Today, we actually don't need to offer that because most health system IT companies don't offer that. But what we found is it's actually a great thing to continue to offer. Even though we've got 200 plus customers and we can say, hey, our stuff works, go talk to your peers. I find it's a very focusing device for our teams because our teams wake up every morning knowing we serve at the pleasure of our healthcare customers. If we don't deliver value, they will opt out. So this morning, 13,500 infusion chairs woke up, nobody canceled. 5,600 ORs woke up, nobody canceled. 20,000 beds woke up, nobody canceled. And you know what? They won't cancel tomorrow either.
Yeah.
Because our aspiration is to be like electricity to the home. You don't wake up saying, I'm going to cut off my electric service tomorrow. Because you know you're not going to go back to rubbing stones to creating a fire. So you do need your electric service. We want to be that electric service. And so long after we don't need it, we continue to offer it because it's reassuring to customers that our teams understand products had better work. Our interactions had better be responsive. We had better offer and add value, and we'd better have, good positive results to show for it. If we don't have those, they'll go to their feet. And so that's kind of how we think about transformation as a service.
And speaking of positive results, I was also reading that LeanTaaS has experienced remarkable growth, something like you're serving more than 1,000 hospitals now. So I've got to ask, what have been the most challenging aspects of scaling your solutions across such a diverse range of healthcare settings? And what opportunities have you maybe uncovered during this expansion? Because I suspect there's a few appeared whilst expanding too, right?
Right. Healthcare is challenging. Healthcare is conservative. And by the way, I love that they're conservative. If I'm going to get operated on, I'm happy that the surgeon isn't using a scalpel that he found on Amazon last night, right? So I'm happy that they're careful about selecting vendors and going through a rigorous vetting process. They also rely on their peers and counterparts across because unlike other businesses, healthcare is a hyper-local business. They don't compete with each other the same way. I mean, if I got sick, I'm going to a doctor in California.
Yeah.
Stanford's not competing with Sloan Kettering. They're both excellent cancer institutions, but someone's going to this, not that. And therefore, they collaborate a lot more. They trust each other a lot more. They share across executives a lot more. And so you've got to make sure that you have a good experience. Your customers have a good experience with you everywhere because they talk to each other all the time, right? So that's a pretty clear thing. So in scaling, because they're conservative, the selling cycle is very long. It's 6 months, 9 months to sell. So part of the challenge in scaling is to have enough discussions going, knowing that it's going to take a long time for a decision. That's kind of one. Second, when you've seen one healthcare system, you've seen one healthcare system. So your deployments are not identical. It's not a cookie cutter, what you can deploy here, you can deploy there. So you have to build deployment teams that can scale. Now, we don't want custom code because if we modified our software to be custom in each place, it's impossible to maintain because then only one engineer knows how health system X is doing something. So our software solutions are massively configurable. They're not customized. And there's a big difference in that. It's one body of code running in the cloud. Now, during the deployment process, we may flip 1,000 switches that this is where the robots are, this is how many surgeries they can do, this is their policy, this is what they do. And all those configuration switches are set during the deployment process. But there's one body of code. The simplest way to think about this is there's one body of code in Google running search. They don't have a different version for Portugal or Spain. It's wildly different languages, wildly different search methods, but it's one body of code. All that's figured out in how they tokenize at the front end, et cetera, right? So the same way, one body of code. So the deployment had to become scalable. And then the ongoing customer success has to be scalable as well. We have to talk to customers every week, every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, depending on where they are in the journey. As they become expert, they need us less and less. Right? Stanford deployed our infusion solution in 2013. It's 11 years later. We still talk to them very regularly. They don't need to talk to us every week because they know how to use the stuff as well as our team does. But they still have occasional problems with it. Memorial Sloan Kettering deployed across all their cancer center in 2016. So it's 8 years now, and we still talk to them every few weeks. So that's the mode in which we've managed to scale. And along the way, we've grown the organization to nearly 400 people now across the board.
Fantastic. And of course, the integration of technology into healthcare operations requires not just technological adaptation, but also cultural and procedural shifts and not drifting back to hey, we've always done things this way. So how do you at LeanTaaS work alongside healthcare providers to better foster these changes? And are there any examples where collaboration led to significant improvements in patient outcomes or operational efficiency? I appreciate you probably can't share too much with that, so I don't want you to mention any names, but any examples spring to mind on that collaboration with healthcare providers and improving the culture?
So this is exactly what I said about a transformation as a service, right? Because we put our teams side by side to work them through it. Now, change management's a big word. And I think the change management challenge is bigger when you try to persuade someone to do something that they inherently don't want to do, right? If you design your solutions so that they're easy to use, they're intuitive, and it's in the enlightened self-interest of that person to do it because they get better outcomes with less effort, then the change management burden comes down. It becomes more of a sure to them. They get the aha. And then guess what? They're going to do it that way because it's quicker, it's cheaper, it's more intuitive, it's faster, and it gives them better answers. And it saves them time, right? Think about this. No one from Uber has come to my house to change manage me into using the Uber app. It's just a better way of going from point A to point B. I don't need to look up the yellow pages, call a yellow cab, explain where I am, explain where I'm headed, check that he'll take a credit card. I don't need to worry about all of that. 2 clicks on my phone and I've got a car at my doorstep. So there's no change management required. It's just a better way of doing things. So our solutions are meant to do that. We've got plenty of examples, right? Baptist Health Jacksonville partnered with us. They've seen a 16% improvement in prime time utilization, a nearly 10% increase in the number of case minutes that they do. The number of abandoned blocks has gone down by 20+%. Novant Health partnered with us in the middle of the pandemic on both OR and infusion. They figured out they don't even need a waiting room for infusion because the flow has become so much better. And we've got, on our website, we've got dozens of case studies where we share the results. So that becomes pretty straightforward for us.
And on the flip side of everything we're talking about here, as AI plays that increasing crucial role in healthcare, the next thing is data privacy and ethical considerations. They quickly come to the forefront. So how do you at LeanTaaS address some of these concerns, especially when dealing with sensitive patient data and making predictive analysis that could affect and impact patient care decisions? Anything you can share around that?
Sure. Data privacy is these are company destroying risks you take, right? Yeah. Because if you are cavalier about it, something bad is going to happen. So we are obsessed about data security and privacy. So we just go to extraordinary lengths. So we are HIPAA certified, high-tech certified, SOC 2, Type 2 compliant, all of those standards we've cleared. We then encapsulate. So every customer's data is quarantined from every other customer's data. So we don't just make one big data pool and put everyone's data into it. So it's completely quarantined. It is encrypted. It's encrypted at rest. It's encrypted in motion, and it's quarantined. It's role-based. So by the way, despite my role, I can't look at patient data because the engineers have said I don't need to see it. So we have very tight controls on who can see what. And we have massive audit logging and trails, so we know if data is being moved in ways it shouldn't be moved. And so we've been at this a long time, and we are very, very secure in how we do it. We also have a minimalist attitude. We don't just suck in data for the sake of pulling in data. We just get exactly what we need to do exactly what we're trying to do.
And if we were to look ahead into the future, I know it's incredibly difficult at the moment with the pace of technological change, but what's your vision for the future of healthcare operations? How do you foresee LeanTaaS and similar technologies helping shape this landscape of healthcare delivery, patient experience, and indeed overall system sustainability over the next decade? As I said, the time moves so quickly, the pace of change moves so quickly, but how do you see this evolving?
So very simply, if I compare two things, think about the clinical advancements in this country over the last 30 years. Nothing short of magical. Robotic surgery, precision medicine, genomics. It's unbelievable what has been built. Over the same 30 years, look at the advancement in operational sophistication of healthcare. It's virtually non-existent. Paper records were digitized. That's about it. People still make appointments by looking at the calendar and saying, Neil, Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Who ran demand stochastic models? Who ran constraint-based optimization algorithms to say, Neil, Wednesday, 10 o'clock was the right answer? Because the staff, the equipment, the facilities, the rooms were all ready with the right skills at the right time to deal with Neil on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Nobody did any of that. They just looked at the calendar. Well, that's the way you made appointments in the Stone Ages, right? So when we think about the upside of operational improvement, if you look at asset-intensive service businesses, healthcare is by far the laggard in efficiencies compared to other asset-intensive service businesses. Now, we have to acknowledge that healthcare has some fundamental structural disadvantages, meaning it is at best a 12-hour operation, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Okay? Airlines don't work that way. They fly. The only time an airline makes money is when the plane is in the air flying. All the other times are just getting ready to put the aircraft up in the air and fly, right? Therefore, they run 24/7. You can't expect surgeries to happen at 2 a.m. So by definition, perfect performance from healthcare would be 50% utilization, half the day, right? 12 hours.
Yeah.
Even within that, they're the laggard on it. If you could move the efficiency by 10 points, which is not that hard to do, it unlocks $200 billion of value a year on healthcare costs alone. We are by far years ahead of anyone else in how to think about operational sophistication in healthcare operations, right? And using AI and ML in it. So that's our North Star and what we're going after.
And I think that's a beautiful moment to end on. But we started the podcast today talking about your journey at McKinsey and how that influenced your approach to solving inefficiencies in healthcare. And as we come full circle, I'm going to ask you to look back now and share the funniest or most interesting story that has happened in your career, because I suspect you've picked up a few of them over the years, right?
Yeah, let me stay within the LeanTaaS context and not go back to the McKinsey world for the moment. But
yeah,
as I told you at the beginning, when LeanTaaS started, we were across many different industries, right? And so we were happily serving Google, Flextronics, etc. And we had actually started serving Stanford Healthcare in 2010 or 2011 itself, doing a simple patient satisfaction analytic, suite of analytics around it. And this was May of 2013, somewhere around then, I want to say. I was sitting in the office of Dr. Seshadri, who ran all of Stanford's cancer programs back then. In fact, he still runs all of cancer programs right now. And he was telling me about his infusion center. They called it the infusion treatment area, ITA. And he said, I've got a problem there. So I said, really, what's your problem? And he said, well, it's empty early morning. It's empty late in the afternoon. But in the middle of the day, it's like a train station. I've got patients waiting, nurses frazzled, and I can't seem to get them through. This feels to me, and he's an operations guy, he's an ex-GE guy. And he said, this feels like a classic lean line balancing kind of a problem. You guys know lean, you guys know math, you guys know software. Surely you can work on this, right? So at that point in time, I would not have recognized an infusion chair if I'd tripped over one. I'd never seen an infusion chair in chemotherapy. So we started a whiteboard with him, and we were talking about how could we level load the chair balancing and stuff. And we said, let's try it. Why don't we do a pilot project with you? So he said, sure. We had Hugh Cassidy, our chief data scientist, had just joined the company. He was literally a week or so in. So Hugh, Sophia, and I started working with Dr. Seshadri and his team. It took us 6 months to get the algorithm right. It took us 6 more months for Hugh to build his million-element matrices and constraint-based theory around it. But then it was magic. The wait times went down by 40%. The capacity went up by 20%. And Infusion was just one other of our 20 customers in 10 different industries at that time. But what he started was suddenly something that was scalable, a unique way of solving a hard problem that every infusion center in the world needs. And that was 2013, one infusion center, 50 chairs. Today, it's 700 infusion centers, nearly 14,000 chairs. And so if there's a pivotal moment that started it, it was whiteboarding with Dr. Seshadri in his office back in 2013.
Wow, what an inspirational story. And we could talk for another hour on this stuff. So many great stories and the great achievements that you've made there. But before I let you go, for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more information about anything we talked about, maybe even connect with you or ask your team a question, what is the best starting point for all things LeanTaaS?
Just drop an email to support@leantaas.com or just to me, mohan.g@leantaas.com, and we will get you routed.
Well, I will also include links to your LinkedIn and the LeanTaaS website to the show notes so people can find you nice and easy. We covered so much there, from the story behind LeanTaaS, how it became this market leading in providing AI-powered SaaS-based capacity management, staffing, patient flow care software for healthcare systems, and so much more. And of course, we didn't even get to talk about the fact that you guys are a unicorn as well, recently surpassing the $1 billion valuation within the recent acquisition of Hospital iQueue. We'll have to get you back on in the future to carry on this conversation. But more than anything, just thank you for sharing the story behind it all today.
Thank you for having me, Neil. Pleasure as always.
I think navigating the complexities of healthcare operations really does require innovative approaches and technologies. And Mohan today and LeanTaaS exemplify how the power of AI and lean principles can transform healthcare systems, ensuring that they are more efficient, responsive, and capable of delivering care that these patients need when they need it. And as we conclude today's discussion, I think it's clear that the journey of LeanTaaS is not just about optimizing healthcare operations, but also setting a new standard for how technology can enhance patient care and system efficiency. And as we reflect on today's conversation, consider the potential of AI in your professional landscape. How can AI-driven solutions revolutionize your field, your industry? Share your thoughts with me by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes, and let's continue this dialogue on leveraging technology to solve some of these real-world challenges. But that's it for today, so thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.